sleep now? Do you eat too much pizza? No? Too many beers? I hope not. So up next we have Chris from Commvault. As everyone knows, Commvault, great technology. It's been, I've been working with AWS since the start really, so it's really good technology. So up next we have Chris, who's going to give us an idea of how Commvault went from a journey as a backup and archive to cloud workload and protection, which is all has to be done. If you're building an enterprise system on AWS, you need to be able to protect that cloud, that workload. Thank you very much, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Darryl. Can everyone hear me okay? Because I've got a bit of a man cold still that I'm recovering from. Women in the audience don't understand us blokes when we get man flu. It's pretty serious stuff. Yeah, so I'm here to talk to you about Commvault. My name's Chris Condeck. I've been with Commvault for about 6 years. I've been working for infrastructure type software companies for most of my life. And I'm just trying to think, how do I transition? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a journey to the cloud with Commvault. And I'm going to skip straight to the next slide because I need to try and put this into the perspective of what some of you may be experiencing right now. This happened to me. So if there's any cartoon character that I relate to most, it's Dilbert, right? Is everyone here aware of Dilbert? His shenanigans, right? Yes. So there's manager guy, right? Manager guy comes up to Dilbert and says, I'm mandating a cloud-first strategy. Move it all now. Right. And Dilbert, quite rightly so, is immediately alarmed by this statement and says, does he understand what he just said, or is it something you read in a trade show magazine? Does anyone have any senior management or sales type people here that blurt out stuff because the other guy's got one and now we need one suddenly? So Dilbert's testing the theory, right? What color cloud would you like? And the answer, I think mauve has the most RAM. I mean, and that's exactly the type of answer I'd expect from some of these corporate C-levels who go to their C-level golf games and you can see him there, right? I got a cloud. Bet you don't have a cloud, right? Well, you mentioned Gartner. It's on one of my slides. Here we go. All right, so my talk today is the context of what a lot of people that I spoke to, individual network engineering people, cloud architects, technical people who work in big companies or small companies, who are all of a sudden now being mandated to adopt cloud. And I don't know where you might be in your cloud journey. I think people that come to this type of user group that's been running for 5 years, you're probably at the extreme end of the spectrum where you're building applications that are designed for the elasticity economies. I'm not that guy. I've very much been an infrastructure guy most of my life. I know storage, I know networking, I know virtual infrastructure. And so the infrastructure as a service component of cloud is what kind of introduced me to cloud. But then you might be thinking, well, you're a backup company, right? And in a nutshell, yes, this is where Commvault started out. This is what we started doing. And one of the reasons why I got into backup or data management, which is what it's now become, rewind about 20 years ago, or probably a bit longer than that. I'm getting old now. And new technology came out called MP3. It was about 95, 96. And I found a command line utility that would rip the WAV files from the CD to the hard drive, and then I would run another command line utility called L3 Enc, layer 3 encoder, right, to convert the WAV file to the MP3. And this was a painstakingly labour of love that took me about 24 hours just to get one album converted into MP3. This is before, Pirate Bay and stuff like that. So you have to make your own MP3s in those days. And so anyway, I went out to the computer market on a Sunday, as you used to do in those days, to build your own PCs and things like that, bought a 1 gig hard drive. It was all my savings, $500, 1 gig hard drive for my massive MP3 collection. And then one evening, probably there were a few drinks involved, I was very tired, and I made a mistake with the F-disk utility. Those of you who know from Windows and the DOS days.
Flipping disk.
Well, I can think of another 4-letter word. And so that's when I became very appreciative of backup and data loss. Because all those MP3s that took me literally months to create that I stored on my brand new shiny 1 gig hard drive, I blew away in a second. So yes, I became a backup expert, but backup's not all Commvault does. But we are known for backup. So you mentioned Gartner. Gartner is an analyst firm, like many analyst firms, that rates us against our competition. One of the reasons I only bring up this slide is to kind of show that Commvault is a leader in this space. We're very good at what we do because it's all we do. We're a data and information management organization. And I'm going to talk a bit more about how we're relevant to cloud, but you'll also notice that we're leaders in our space, according to Gartner, in the same way that Amazon is leaders in their space. And the unique thing about Commvault and Amazon is that every Gartner quadrant that we've been in, we've held that exact position every time for the last 6 years. I don't think any two other companies kind of share that approach. So I thought I'd put that out there. It also kind of frames where we are in the marketplace and the types of companies we compete with. Some of these are 20 times bigger. So I want to talk about how adopting cloud, no matter where you are in your maturity curve, creates data silos. And when I'm out talking to different enterprises and different businesses of all sizes, they don't realize that they've already adopted cloud. They say to me, yeah, we're thinking about going to the cloud. I'm like, okay. So no Office 365? Oh yeah, we've got Office. Okay. So what about Salesforce? Yeah, we're using okay. And what about your SAP environment? No, we outsource that to a managed service provider. So then they start realizing they've already got all these different areas where their data's been pushed out. The data center is no longer the center of the universe, so to speak. So by design, and we understand what's driving these, right? The dev guys are sick of legacy IT. I can't wait for me to get some infrastructure to run my application on. So I get my credit card out and EC2, my instance, up and running in a second. And this is called shadow IT. This is what Gartner refers to as shadow IT. Anyone with a budget who can go out and deploy infrastructure effectively. It's not your real estate. Will create data silos by its very nature. So then, how do we address this situation, this distributed information situation, as well as being able to move workloads and data around into the cloud, out of the cloud, between clouds? This is becoming very important to C-levels, etc. So before I go into what Commvault does, has anyone got one of these? Yeah, we've probably all got one of these, right? So you think about us as humans and the way that we consume our data, right? So I got an Uber on the way here. I used Google Maps to find the location. I used LinkedIn to stalk these guys' profiles. Facebook gave me my fake news for the day. Instagram showed me a whole bunch of things what people eat for lunch, right? We have a single platform to consume all of our information and data. What is the business equivalent to this? Or what is the equivalent platform that organizations can use to manage all of their data and information in one place? And this is really where Commvault play. And I wanted to show you this because this is what's unique about us. We've been around for 20 years. Yes, we started out as a backup company, protecting legacy infrastructure, Unix systems, old applications and things like that. But we kind of grew out to be this holistic data and information management. And this is what is the secret sauce for us. We're completely software defined. We start with a single scalable dynamic index. This goes against the nature of a lot of other products that are centralized database. We are by design distributed. We in fact encourage you to go out and adopt various different cloud infrastructures. Put the appropriate workload in the appropriate location. And you think about this one virtual repository. What does that mean? Well, if I want to trigger snapshots on EC2, or if I want to, on EBS in EC2, or if I want to write a backup to an S3 cloud library, if I want to write a backup to Glacier, or if I want to write a backup to a tape library that I've still got sitting around because it makes costs. The virtual repository means that wherever we capture data in its native format and its native location, we are aware of it, and we pull it together virtually for that one single repository. Now, as data grows and expands across this infrastructure, evolution, let's call it, right? Started with physical, went virtual, went to private, hybrid, public clouds, right up to SaaS providers. How do we deal with SaaS providers? If you're using Office 365, or if you're using Amazon RDS, how do you get your data back if you need it? How do you manage it? So we put this management and operations layer on top of it, a bit of provisioning, a bit of orchestration, a bit of automation to help you cope with the growth and the facing. So when we apply that approach to what is the infrastructure evolution, where we've gone from on-prem data centers out to remote offices to you bring your own disaster users here in the middle, and out to, I usually get a laugh at that one. You've got your public cloud, hyperscale, your SaaS providers and service providers. By design, our distributed index and our virtual repository allows you to have full and complete holistic data management. So, how's that related to the cloud then? What that helps us do is to help you realize or rationalize your cloud strategy. So that Dilbert managers come along and he's like, cloud strategy, go, go, go. And at the Gartner events that I've been to and the keynote speeches, cloud always becomes cloud sometimes, cloud maybe, right? Or I'm pulling back out of it. So the 4 ways that we really help our organizations and our customers start their cloud journey or mature in their cloud journey, or even if they're very mature in their cloud journey, add value to that, is along these lines. So the first one is to use the cloud as infrastructure as a service. From Commvault, I can add S3 buckets, I can add Glacier and start replacing my tape loaders. From a disaster recovery perspective, we're seeing less and less physical data centers and more use of public cloud for disaster recovery. We then get to streamlining migration. This is the whole concept of workload portability. If I've got a workload today that's running as VMware virtual infrastructure or Hyper, or maybe even still running on physical, how do I take that workload in its entirety, put it into an Amazon ecosystem, an Azure ecosystem, Google ecosystem, with identity and access management, with zones, with regions, etc. And then lastly, what we say is the kind of mature end of cloud strategy is that multi-cloud and multi-workload visibility. So now your workloads are completely portable. They can switch back and forth between different environments, and you have the full visibility and policy-driven management of these cloud environments. So what I wanted to do, because I understand we're a very technical audience here, which is great, and I was listening to some of the conversations happening here, and even the guy that was up presenting before me, I mean, he's written a book. I'm nowhere near that impressive. I wanted to show you just some screenshots from the product because we want to show you how easy it is, and especially for those who aren't super DevOps guys. I mean, it's still black magic to me. I'm still trying to figure out what it is you guys do, a bit like DBAs. But from an infrastructure perspective, I can deploy Commvault and I add a cloud storage library, and there's a drop-down box, and you'll notice here Glacier, S3, Google Cloud Storage, OpenStack, Oracle Storage Cloud. We wanted to make it directly native built into the product. No appliances, no gateways, so that you pick S3, am I using secret keys or am I using an identity and access management role or a policy? And then straight away, what storage class do I want? Makes more sense if it's a backup target for my weekly backups. I'll use the infrequent access versus the reduced redundancy tier or the full support for Snowball and Snowmobile. For those of you that don't know, if you're trying to get large volumes of data off-prem and into the cloud, Snowball is like a box that they drop on-prem, and you can write to it, and then they take it up there and they just put it straight into S3. Snowmobile is a freaking truck that they park outside your office. That's my Lego attempt at a snowmobile. I couldn't get a picture of a real snowmobile. I did that prior to them actually announcing when they actually drove the truck onto the stage at Amazon reInvent. So. But yes, we support Snowmobile. You can park a snowmobile outside your office and put 100 petabytes of data in it. And we use DGIP too. We can turn that 100 petabytes into a, what's bigger than a petabyte? We're into exabyte territory now, right? Yeah, exactly. So that's getting our data there. What about that in-cloud workload protection? So you can see here another screenshot from a different GUI of our product, same product, just we have an ISO GUI where I'm adding a hypervisor. And you can see I've got Amazon Azure Classic Resource Manager, a couple of other private cloud vendors in. We identify data in its native format. Call this the virtual server agent for Amazon. And you can see here that what I do is I give it my access key and I give it my secret key, and I can add multiple Amazon instances. Why? Because when I go to discover my virtual machines and my instances, I can set rules like instance name or pattern equals region equals zone equals. So I can decide what I want to group for whatever reason. Could be in a region, could be in a zone. Or I can simply browse for my system. So as soon as I've put in my access key and my secret key, this is native visibility of instances by region, instances by zone. I can see their power state, I can see what zone they're in, and I can even go right down tags. So does anyone here use EC2 and use tags for their VMs? Yep. So service providers are going to start to use this a lot more. They're going to tag their system. So identifying by tag, billing by tag is going to become more and more prominent. So that's the AWS workloads in the cloud. Now, what I want to protect...
Sorry, just on that, I think we need to have a talk on tagging everything. Everyone should tag everything in their environment, yes? Okay.
Very smart thing to do, right? It's like writing code without comments. So anyway, what if I wanted to exclude certain disks? There might be operating system volumes that I don't want to protect, don't want to snap. Yes, we can exclude right down at the disk filter level. Now, from a snapshot integration perspective, I wanted to call this one out because this is a unique thing. Does anyone here work with disk arrays on site? SANs, EMCs, NetApps, IBMs, Hitachis, right? And do you leverage the snapshots in those SANs, right? Why should it be any different in the cloud? Amazon's given us EBS, Elastic Block Storage, and we have a snap capability in that. We effectively use the Amazon Snap engine the same way we would use a physical disk array snap engine. So you can see here, these snaps that are created on EBS snapshots are actually triggered by Commvault. These numbers here tie to the job IDs, so you can use the native cloud capability as part of a protection strategy. So now, recovery, right? Just because we can auto-discover EC2 instances and group them and protect them, how do we recover them? Full virtual machine or individual files and folders, so you've got that kind of self-service recovery. You can restore out of place, so you can clone VMs very quickly, change their names, send them to different availability zones, mess with their network, etc. That's all there. From a snapshot perspective, if you have a recovery time objective you want to meet, you've got mission critical systems working in the cloud, you can list the snaps, and we show you the snaps on EBS the same way we would show you the snaps within a disk array. Really straightforward. Now, RDS, is anyone here using Amazon Relational Database as a service? Yeah. So, from an RDS perspective, we have full support of all of the RDS instances. Now, for those that don't know what RDS is, it's literally database as a service. I don't have to deploy an EC2 instance, an OS, a volume. I just get the database. Give me the OWC link into it or whatever I need. From our perspective, we will automatically discover all of the instances in their availability zones, as well as what database engine they're using. And now, because this database is a service, the patching's taken care of for me. This is why we show you the engine version, so you can see if Amazon patched their, let's say, Oracle instance overnight to 11.2.x, and you're getting failures, you could go back to the engine version that was working for you and recover back to that, as an example. Now, disaster recovery, we spoke about that a little bit. Here's an example of a virtual machine that I've taken a backup of. And you can see this restore as drop-down box, Amazon, Azure, Hyper-V, vCenter. Or if I want to do not just a reactive disaster recovery, but a proactive disaster recovery, we've got a concept known as live sync, and the destination can be Amazon. So if you've got VMware workloads right now, and you want to recover them to Amazon, you can do that reactively. Right-click, restore as, go. But if I've got a lower recovery time objective and I want to use the public cloud infrastructure as a disaster recovery location, I can set up a live sync. And then I put in there, well, where do I want this virtual machine, which is a VMDK? Which region do I want it to go into? Which network settings will it adopt when I hit the failover button? So you've got this kind of synchronous replication as opposed to a reactive restore. We call that proactive VR. So that ticks off the box of getting our data to the cloud and getting our workloads to the cloud, protecting our workloads in the cloud. We do have a provisioning capability. This is a way to help maybe dev or different departments going through our portal and deploy workloads based on the instance types that you allow, the machine sizes, etc. You can control what gets deployed. And you can do that through multiple clouds. So you might be able to offer a service that will use some on-prem VMware or some on-prem Hyper-V, and then maybe some other workloads that are more appropriate for these public cloud infrastructures that the end user doesn't know. They just see a website that says, give me a VM with this much memory, performance, go. It might end up in any one of these clouds. So it's administrator driven. So to tie all of that together in a nutshell, and I'm kind of going back to front here now, you think about how workloads appear in AWS, and the reason behind this story here is if I've got a snap to disk to tape strategy today, why can't it be a snap to S3 to Glacier strategy in the cloud? It shouldn't be any different. So we start with the provisioning. Workloads appear. AMI has an EBS volume. We start driving the point-in-time EBS snapshots. At some point, we'll mount up a snapshot and we'll lifecycle the data out to an S3 bucket, maybe in frequent access. And then at some point, we'll lifecycle the data out to Glacier, where it's appropriate. It might be 10-year, 15-year retention. So the last area that I wanted to talk about tonight is around application migration. And this is where we take a complicated workload, and you can see what a migration would look like if it wasn't orchestrated, if it wasn't automated. You need to go through a whole bunch of routines and subroutines to determine, does the target environment exist? Can it accommodate the data that I'm seeing? What about the licensing with the application that I'm migrating? So in this example, we're going to move from a complex, multi-step manual process migration to a one-click orchestration automated migration process. And this is what the wizard looks like. It's policy-driven. You choose what cloud type you want to send it to. So here we've got Amazon and Oracle Cloud. This is an Oracle database that could be running on an Exadata, could be running on a Linux machine, could be a Oracle. And then you tell it which cloud to go to. The software configuration, Oracle specifically, is very fussy about licensing. You can take the license with it. And then finally, hit finish, and we will take that instance, however it looks, and we will migrate it into an Amazon RDS instance. We'll migrate it into an EC2 instance with an EBS volume. So that being said, I did want to leave you with a couple of links, and I understand everyone gets access to these slides, is that right?
Yes.
Yep. So what's a little bit different about us to a lot of other companies you might have dealt with when it comes to our documentation, we're very much an open book. Documentation.commvault.com is an online guide where you can just go directly into and get open information. You don't have to sign up or have an account or anything like that. I'm pointing out the Cloud Architecture Guide. For those cloud architects in the room, this is a guide that isn't just, here's how you use Commvault in the cloud. This guide is, if you're planning to move data into the cloud, think about these seeding concepts. How fast is S3? If I'm going to deploy components in Amazon, what EC2 instances should I consider? What memory requirements will I have? We do go into a lot of best practices, reference architecture in the cloud, and it's great for cloud architects because they're like, no, I don't want to see a step-by-step of how you set up a backup policy. I want to know specifically how your product is deployed in Amazon from the marketplace. The last thing that I'll just grab your question in a second is I've done a series of 2 and 5 minute really short YouTube video clips. I've called it 2 Clicks to the Cloud with Commvault. There's a whole bunch of different cloud providers on there. There's a lot around AWS. These are 2 to 5 minutes long, very quick, simple, showing you that if you want to start your journey to the cloud, if you haven't even attempted it, you can start with backup to the cloud. It's a real good one to tick off the box very easily. The CIOs happen to be saving money. You can use it to take. And so I thought I'd leave these 2 up there. But yes, so do we have any questions? How am I doing for time?
Yeah.
Loads of time. Excellent. Yes. Excellent question. So the question is, how do I move applications from traditional infrastructure into cloud infrastructure? So the example that I was showing you there is, I used an Oracle database because it's typically one of those difficult applications to lift. And you think about an application itself is running on an operating system, it's running on some hardware, so there's the Indianness of the, is it x86 architecture? Now, we can take an Oracle instance that's running on AIX, and we use potentially native tools. So we use Oracle RMAN to dump the data out into a format. We'll then manually move that data ourselves, either through a Commvault replication process or a backup process. And we will auto-deploy the cloud instance. Now that cloud instance might be EC2 running Linux, deploy Oracle binaries on there. Or that might be Amazon RDS. Because if I can deploy an Oracle instance from RDS within seconds, then I've got that target ready to receive the data. So it's effectively a backup, transport, restore, apply all settings, and you're up and running. As part of that process, which is driven by a workflow, we also take into account security. So if you've got authentication method on-prem that doesn't match your identity and access management in the cloud, that's something that you can set in the policy. If you want to control what kind of shape or instance type the user deploys during the wizard migration process, control that as well.
More questions?
Sorry, when we migrate the data from on-premise to cloud, what if the data is really big?
So, good question. If you've got large data volumes, really large into multi-terabytes and petabytes, get a snowmobile, get a snowball. Operating literally, I mean, a snowball is an 80 terabyte box. We literally can turn it into an 800 terabyte box with TG. We just see it as another S3 cloud library target. You start smashing your backups to it. They ship it up to wherever the data centers are. It gets fed into the S3 cloud environment very quickly. And then from a Commvault perspective, the snowball becomes just the S3 bucket. And then your data's there. That data, once it's in the cloud, you can start pulling it out of the S3 bucket and feeding it into EC2 workloads. Remember that VM restore as an Amazon virtual machine? So you can actually use that as a transport, as a backup restore with the workload portability to migrate and transform your workloads between clouds. Now, I know it's probably not the popular forum to say this, but you can actually take Amazon EC2 workloads now and migrate them to Azure and other platforms as well, or bring them back on-prem, who knows. Our goal for you is wherever your dynamic data is being created, so even if you're using serverless architecture and for some reason all that you end up getting from executing your code is some data in a Postgres database, we'll protect that Postgres database. We'll serve it back to you, we'll make it portable, give you end user self-service, etc. I've only really scratched the surface of what Commvault does tonight, but wanted it to make it relevant to your cloud journey.
Any more questions? No? Good for now? Excellent, Chris, thank you very much, that was awesome.
Thank you very much, everyone. So I forgot to say at the beginning, did everyone get a, one of those little thingamabobs?
Everyone get the QR code?
Yes, so thank you all
Who's got one of these?
Sitting through and listening to my presentation today. I'm just going to refresh the screen and see.
Everybody's scanning as we speak.
We got some good respondents. Look, would anyone like some more time? No? Ready to? You're all ready to go.
There's one here. Ready. Quick, somebody ask a question. Take one more question. Any more questions? No one? No? It's a shy crowd tonight.
Actually, I have a question for the crowd, if that's all right. I am curious when you deploy your workloads into AWS. Has anyone here adopted the multi-region, multi-zone capability? Or do you just use one location and deploy it there and that's it, you're happy? The reason why I asked this, and this is not to put AWS down in any way, but there was a major S3 outage a couple of months back, and I don't know if anyone had kind of experienced that. And that's around that time, a lot of our customers came back to us and said, we had some serious downtime, and we now want to know what's the best practice, what do we do? Well, the first thing we said to them, well, did you use multi-zone, multi-region? Because you can replicate data. A couple of the government customers were like, well, data sovereignty laws in Australia are pretty strict, must stay within Australian data centers. But even there, you've got APEs to APEs, etc. I just was curious to see if anyone is kind of conscious of the cloud redundancy capabilities and whether or not
Are you talking EC compute or are you talking S3 using data storage?
all of them. Yeah, any infrastructure component that you
But S3 is replicated around all zones. Put it there. Yeah. So EC2, when you deploy your instances, are within zones.
within zones. Yeah. So I noticed that S3 can be endpoint specific as well. You connect to different endpoints which are tied to different AWS regions. I guess from our perspective, the reason why behind this question is we're talking to our customers who are coming to us and saying, can you give us something that gives us resiliency above the cloud? So even though it's multi-region and it's multiple redundant, and you've got 11 nines of durability, that is not going to save you from stupid people. It's not going to save you from malware. It's not going to save you from human error, etc., etc. So that kind of protection from logical corruption. All right, so everyone's happy, and we'll now the person has to be here in the crowd too. So if I say a name and it doesn't come up, then
it can't be the last one.
I have a Richard Tenbo. Hey, congratulations, Richard. Go on up, Richard. He wins our a selfie drone, so you can take pictures of yourself without holding the phone. You get a picture. Okay, use the selfie drone. I was thinking about that actually. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Cheers. Congratulations. And thank you all. Cheers.
So thank you.
First Wednesday of the month, next month, and Westcott. Hope to see you all then. Take it easy. Thank you all for coming.